nityam vimalamachalam sarvadi sakshibhutam bhavatitam trigunarahitam sadgurum tanamami. Om Haranmai Parikoshe Virajan Brahmanishkalam Tachubram Jyotisham Jyoti Tadyadatma Viddo Vidhu. Shining like burnished gold, highest and deepest, the core intelligence of living beings, partless and indivisible, free of any taint, the essence of everything which all beings seek. Knowingly or unknowingly, there shines Brahman. It is that which the Guru teaches, it is that which the wise ones exult in. Om peace, peace, peace. Om Nityo Nityanam Chetanas Chetananam Eko Bahunam Yo Vidadati Kaman Tamatmastam Yenu Pashanti Diraha Tesham Shanti Shashvati Netaresham. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. That one, the eternal among non-eternal things, the intelligence of the most intelligent ones, who, though ever one, nevertheless fulfills the desires of the many. The wise ones realize that one is dwelling in their very self. To them belong peace and to none else. Om peace, peace, peace. Om Sahana. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karvavahai Tejasvi Navaditamastu Ma Vidveshavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. May Brahman, the reality, protect us. May Brahman sustain us. May Brahman illumine our thinking process. May we not find fault with each other, with the world, and with the teachings. And may what we study be a source of inspiration to us eternally. Om peace, peace, peace. May peace be unto us. May peace be unto all. Om Hari Om. Coming to you from San Francisco, our live streaming audience, and our second weekend class of this series. Next week we'll be in Seattle, so there will be no live streaming at that time. Most likely, check your SRV website for that. And the weekend after that, we will be in Portland. In fact, the next 2 weekends at the ashram in Portland. So you may check in with your live streaming for those 4 classes, or come up to Portland and attend with us, or come up to Seattle and be on retreat with us for the 150th centenary celebration of Swami Vivekananda, which is going on in a very big way throughout the world. You might have noticed here in San Francisco, we even saw posters down in the Haight for Swami Vivekananda. And we know, since we've just been to India, that it's all over that part of the world. They're celebrating the great soul's appearance on earth, and we'd say his 150-year life so far, because he still lives after he has passed on. In fact, he made us that promise that as long as there's a single suffering soul, he'll come back 1,000 times and take a body just to help people out of suffering. Along with his great master, Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, who said, for the next 200 and 300 years, I'll be here in my subtle body, keeping the curtain of Maya raised so that those souls who want the truth can go to it. Well, Sahana Vavatu, Saha Viryam Karavavahai, and so forth that we just chanted. May Brahman protect us, may Brahman sustain us, and may Brahman illumine our thinking process. Why should Brahman need to do that when everything is Brahman? Because here in the world, as we were talking about yesterday, we don't see Brahman. Brahman is behind the veil, is behind the veiling and distorting power of Maya, and that's the slokas we are about to encounter in the 3rd chapter. We finished chapter 2 yesterday with this new chart that I showed you on the cosmic manifestation of Lord Brahma. That is the first of the Trinity. So very difficult to pierce through the veils of Avarana Shakti and Vikshepa Shakti. Avarana Shakti is a veil that is a veiling power that is rather natural in many ways, because formlessness is just covered by form. Anytime you think form or anytime you see form, then you have to think Maya is afoot. And if Maya is afoot, then as Sherlock Holmes said, the game is afoot. You see? And it's time to find out the rascals, the perpetrators, uncover them, reveal them. And that's called Prakasha Shakti. But in between Avarana Shakti, the veiling power, and Prakasha Shakti, the revealing power, is this power called Vikshepa Shakti. It happens to distort things. The distortion is only apparent because, as I just chanted, Nicho Nichanam Chaitanas Chaitananam, it's the one in the eternal. It is the intelligence among the most intelligent, and it's ever one, but it nevertheless fulfills the desires of the many, and it's pure and perfect, and it's what everyone's seeking, whether they know it or not. Some are seeking it via wayward paths, and some are seeking it directly because they've glimpsed it or felt it, or in a previous lifetime they've prepared for it. So everything you see here in the form of one's prarabdha karma, as we were talking about yesterday, what you wear on your face, what your features look like, how you walk, how you think, what you call instinct, what you call genetics, what you call heredity and so forth, is only just the tip of the iceberg out here in manifested prakriti. But there, inside, in the mind, is the unmanifested prakriti, as we were talking about in terms of Lord Brahma's universal projection. And even subtler than the unmanifested prakriti, that is your thought world, is the causal world, which everything goes into a formless state. And guess what? The distorting power is still working, isn't it? Because you think that's formlessness, but you haven't encountered the supreme form yet, the supreme formlessness, which is this Trinity. So you can compare that formlessness to deep sleep. Did you get enlightened last night? No, but you went into deep sleep. So deep sleep is not an enlightener. It's respite for most people. So the seers go into deep sleep consciously, and they see through that veil of nescience that's clouding deep sleep. That is, they don't just experience bliss and then forget it. They experience it and they embrace it. And they say, why not have this all the time, even in my waking and dreaming state? Why not be enlightened? Why not live the high standard? Why not be a yogi? So the young people that are here this weekend, I want to see how they are under the duress of sickness, under the duress of suffering, under the duress of an hour's meditation every morning, under the duress of 3 hours of listening to Babaji rattle on and on, see, about a philosophy that he dearly loves and he wants to impress upon you. And if you can do that and master your posture, master your breath, and master your senses, then you're a fit candidate for yoga. Most beings only make the grade maybe in the first 2 or 3 limbs of yoga and approach the breathing exercises, the 4th limb, but then when they get to pratyahara, the ability to stem the tide of thought, then they fall back. They fall back on pleasure, and they fall back on sensuality, and they fall back on matter, dependence on matter. So we're not making the grade as yogis if we do that. We have to hold a high standard. And in order to hold a high standard, first we have to see what the high standard is and make sure that we know the difference. And that's called, in Sanskrit, Viveka. Yes. That man is called Vedanti. He's named Vedanti, you see. So he knows the Vedanta, or he's coming to know it. So that's what Swamiji named himself after, Swami Vivekananda. And for 150 years, the whole world has heard that word now. Isn't it about time we start implementing it into our life and rejecting the unreal? Get thee behind me, Christ said. and accepting the real and bringing it full into our lives, as Swamiji wanted us to do, manifest the divine that's in us, not leave it fallow and ready and ripe and never bring it out, or even forget it and run away from it, or let it become a victim of the veiling and distorting power that is there in creation, in Brahma's creation. So you see, you note the difference between Brahma and Brahman. And that's a very good thing to know. There's a good piece of viveka for you right there, a good piece of discrimination, that Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva are the trinity that's responsible for projecting, preserving, and withdrawing this great cosmic play in 3 levels. That's why there are 3 of them. 3, Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva is also the AUM of Om, isn't it? And Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva is also your waking, dreaming, and deep sleep state, isn't it? So everywhere you look, there's these tripudis that when you connect them together, all of a sudden make you a philosopher. Not a couch philosopher, but a realized philosopher, you see. And once you realize the philosophy based on the cosmology, as I was saying yesterday, then you can become spiritual. Then you have a good steady ground on which to stand, not the shifting sounds of Maya, and not behind those veils of veiling and distorting, obscuring and distorting. You have to get to that revelatory power, and it's in everything. It's in everything. If you talk about Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, they're in every sound. They're in the song, aren't they? Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwara, Gurur Eva Param Brahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. One verse of 8 verses of the Stotram on the Guru pretty much says it all, the very first verse. You are Brahma, you are Vishnu, you are Devo Maheshwara. Maheshwara is a name for Shiva. But beyond that, you are the supreme form that transcends the Trinity. My eternal salutations to thee. So he salutes both God in form and God beyond form. But he doesn't forget God beyond form. And also, he strives to make himself one with the formless. It's called samadhi. And in order to have samadhi, you have to learn how to meditate. And yesterday, so we looked at the what I call the 7 branches of the 7th limb of yoga. That wending your way towards kaivalya, which means isolation from form, isolation from nature. Every good seer did it. Every realized soul had to separate himself from nature at some time. If you raise your kids with that idea, instead of the idea of running towards nature and embracing it and becoming matter, then they become spiritual giants in their own life. You just take a bottle and put it half oil and half water, cap it off, shake it, and say, and put it down before them. Does water and oil mix? No. Wait 45 seconds and meditate. So they sit and they see it separate before their very eyes. That's matter and spirit you're talking about. You can't mix the two. And the reason we're suffering is because we're trying to. Now, if we associate water with oil, that's different. If we get into life knowing that we're divine, that's different. If we come here to live a conscious, aware life of striving, or an exemplar like the avatar, then that's a completely different thing. Vedantas aren't life haters or life negators. We're just very practical about the thing. As Vivekananda said, you Americans are drunk with new wine. But we in India have seen it all. We're not being fooled anymore. I will not be caught napping again, he said. Oh Lord, your play is astounding. It's full of Maya, it's full of veiling, it's full of covering power, it's full of pleasure and wonder. But it's also veiled by pain and misery and suffering and lowliness. See? So you'll not catch me napping again. Not this time. I will see what's there. And I won't be frightened as if by a bugaboo, you see, a bugbear. He said, I will know what's there, and I will die trying. So in 39 years, he pretty much exemplified how to pierce through the covering power of Maya, Avarana Shakti, and to rectify the distorting power of Maya, Vikshepa Shakti. Vikshepa Shakti takes something which looks good and makes it look negative. Takes something that looks negative and makes it appear good. See? So it's very confusing for the soul. That discrimination is then going to be very important. Got a jar of mixed paints, as we were saying yesterday, put a little drop of alum in it and watch it clear in a matter of seconds. See? So put a drop of truth alum in your mind and watch it clear in a matter of a few days or a few years, or hopefully one lifetime, or, as Buddhism says, 2 or 3 lifetimes. One lifetime to create the karma, one lifetime to see it, and one lifetime to neutralize it and get out of that. Those 12 nidanas, those 12 links that route you back into life and suffering. So Buddhism, Vedanta, very practical, not pessimistic, very practical approach, because they know that God exists with eyes open and with eyes closed. They don't just exist with eyes closed, so you're going to have to see God in all of this. That's how the yogi approaches negativity, how approaches suffering. That's why Christ said, resist not evil, and turn the other cheek, and so forth. Well, I'll tell you, the American Christian Society is not very well known for turning their other cheek. You might have noticed. So there's a humility lacking there. We're arrogant and prideful. So we've come to sit at the feet of Eastern masters and become humble and learn from them. Learn that lesson, which will free us for all time. Make us immortal. Although the word's not a very good one. I used the word immortal once, and my older spiritual brother, Lex Ixon, said, it's not a very good word. Let's say eternal or indivisible. Immortal suggests that once something was mortal and then it turned immortal. But as you'll see by one of my charts I'm going to show you, transformation is a myth. That's all part of the veiling and distorting power of Maya. It makes things look like they're changing, but Swamiji says, no, that's dualism. That's qualified non-dualism. Like your perfection is all rolled up with inside of you, and then when you get rid of certain impositions, it will like flower and evolve. No, it's always there and it's always perfect. And Maya is making it seem otherwise. Then all you're going to have to do is then strip this curtain of Maya away and turn and look at the original, as Ram Prasad says. Turn inside and look at the original and see it in its pristine perfection, in its innate perfection, in its intrinsic oneness. It's not something that evolves, and it's not something that you get through practice or through meditation or any of that. What you're doing when you practice is purifying the mind so that it can just see the eternal perfection. And anything that is contrary to that realization is all Maya's doing. So a very good bit of discriminatory alum there, you see, to put into the mixture of your life and mind and your relationships. Your relationships with everything, starting with food. You may have noticed we're not handling our food in a very sacred way. We're not sitting down to eat together like we did last night after having a 2-hour puja and then offering our food to God and then sitting at the table and taking it in, hopefully in a reverent manner. No, a little humor is allowed. Especially when you have young people around. Sri Ramakrishna was no slouch in the humor department. He had the young monks rolling on the ground quite often with jokes. So basically keeping that humor but seeing the overall seriousness and keeping a serious tone to it all is the path to enlightenment. Because you need to wend your way. And the straighter and more direct that way is, the better for you, because you can get all your matters concluded. You see, tie up all your karma before you get too old, Holy Mother said. Do all those things early before you get too old, because you have the energy when you're young to do them, but when you get old, the problem with Maya is that you see the truth, but you don't have enough energy to act on it anymore. So that's a really unfortunate occurrence going on. And so we would raise our children spiritually, like with oil and water teachings, see, or make a big Om sign out of dominoes, and they can't wait to knock it over. So they knock it over, and the A, the U, the M fall down, but the Shvara up there, is not connected. It doesn't fall down. What's the lesson, kids? Brahman is not in any way associated with this world. You're talking about Maya. You're talking about Shakti, but Shakti is just associated. She's not identified with it. So, what is pure, what is perfect, what is absolute, what is infinite, what is birthless, what is deathless and timeless, what is without cause, has no origin. Those are the truths of Brahman. And they occupy one rarefied level of consciousness, a non-dual level. And beings are trying to get there, knowingly or unknowingly. They intuit that. Even amongst worldly people, all of a sudden they could have a great opening. Like a lotus, you see, so tender, the blue lotus, that it will not open unless there's sunshine. So the sunshine hits it and it opens. And then a cloud comes in front of the sun and it closes. It can't bear to be without that sun. It's not strong. It's not resilient. So ordinary people may have some epiphanies, you see. Like the man who saw a bear have a Kodiak moment, you see. Have a kind of realization and awakening. But then they go away right away. The first sign of difficulty. Then all of a sudden you're not yourself anymore. What's that all about? And you stay steady through all vicissitudes, through all trials and tribulations. And I'm talking about the peaks too, not just the valleys. You think, I can stay steady through my depressions, but can you stay steady if you win the lottery? Or if something great, so-called good, happens to you, can you stay steady in your yoga? Or you're going to abandon your spiritual life for a couple pretty pennies, see? A few rupees. That, as we know, won't buy your way to heaven. So, when we looked at Brahma's projection, his universal projection, we were doing that in accordance with the last 3 slokas of chapter 2. Let me read them to you really quick. When the yogin realizes the truth of Brahman through the perception of the truth of Atman in the body as a self-luminous entity, then, knowing that divinity as unborn, eternal, and free from all modifications of nature, he is freed from all sins and all transgressions. This divinity pervades in all directions in their entirety. He is the firstborn, Hiranyagarbha, cosmic egg. He has entered into the womb. He alone is born, and he is to be born in the future. He is inside all persons as the indwelling self, facing in all directions. Rather like this. Salutations to that divinity who is in fire, who is in water, who is in plants, who is in the trees, and who has pervaded the whole universe. So, here is another representation of Brahma's creation, only more inclusive of the cosmic, higher cosmic level of things, that is, the higher tattvas. The 12 tattvas beyond the 24 cosmic principles, you might say. We've mentioned it so much yesterday, just in case you're not clear about it yet, and you've been sitting in my classes a long time and haven't memorized it, there they are, the famous 24 cosmic principles. And that's a foundation for your philosophy, for all Indian philosophy. Even the unorthodox darshanas admire this system. Basically, it's these 5 elements: air, earth, fire, water, and ether. The 5 subtle elements called odor, flavor, visibility, tangibility, and audibility. The 5 senses: elimination, procreation, moving, acting, and speaking. And the 5 knowledge senses. These are the active senses, karmandriyas. The knowledge senses are jnanendriyas, that is, seeing, tasting, touching, hearing, and smelling. All of those connect. That's what we don't know about them. We say, oh, I think I'm in my eyes right now, and then I listen to music. I'm in my ears right now, and I'm eating dinner. Oh, I'm in my taste buds right now, you see. So we go from one to the other without knowing their integral connection. Didn't you see here? Earth goes with odor, and odor goes with elimination, and elimination goes with smell. Water goes with flavor, flavor goes with procreation, procreation goes with taste. Fire goes with visibility, visibility goes with being able to move, and that goes with form. And so forth and so on. So these 20 cosmic principles have integral connections, and the yogi's first directive, even before he can master the prana, because he hasn't even got to the mind yet, is to connect all 5 of those, and that's called living a connected life. Otherwise, you're living a scattered life. And so if we want to find our way back to the source, want to get back to our original essence and so forth, then this is the trail of breadcrumbs through which we do it. The yogi thinks about the universe, meditates on it, meditates on earth, sees its upheaval, sees its fragrances, sees its various minerals and its plant life, and categorizes that under earth. And then when he meditates on it, he removes his fear of it. Oh, I died in a landslide once. Earth came down on me, you see. So I think I'll beware of earth. Be careful of earth. It's not my friend, necessarily. I must have a certain amount of detachment around it, seeing that it can rise up like that at any time. Just ask Japan, what happened with the ocean. So you meditate on water, and you meditate on fire, and you meditate on air, and you meditate on ether. When you meditate on ether, don't just act like a physicist or a quantum physicist, because they don't know that physical ether is the doorway into pranic ether, and pranic ether is the doorway into psychic prana, and psychic prana is the doorway into the realm of the mind, and the realm of the mind is the doorway into Him, the Trinity, Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva. Now you're at a very deep causal level, because Brahma, not Brahman, but Brahma is the original cause of things. He's the Hiranyagarbha we just read, the cosmic egg. He's the holder of Om, the A-U-M of Om, particularly the A, because he's going to project all the universes in space and time under the Divine Mother's auspice. That's why we read here, he is Atman, he is Prana. Now you know why they equate Atman to Brahman, and Brahman to Prana sometimes. Some of the Upanishads, they're talking about Prana as if it's the highest, best thing, because it's the energy of the divine. It might as well be Shakti, see. And he says here, actually, he controls all of these beings, the gods and the human beings, through his prana, which flow along the nadis. The nadis are subtle nerves. So everyone learns in accordance with that, you see, this early teaching in Ayurvedic studies and so forth, and in Indian astronomy and various systems, they learn about the 5 pranas, the one that digests your food, and the one that takes your blood to various organs, and your breath, how it goes in and out, and the uprising prana that causes you to sneeze, causes you to wake up, and the all-pervasive prana that's everywhere. But they never talk about the prana as it manifests itself in subtler levels, at the psychic level, at the intellectual level, and when it turns into Shakti. They don't see prana turn into Shakti. See? Shakti is unknown to them. She's a hidden secret. She's the most esoteric. Lajya patta vritti nityam sharda jnana daike. See? It's put in the hymns even of our tradition. Vajapata vrite nicham sharada jnana daike papebhyona shadaraksha kripamayi namostute. Kripamayi is full of grace. Kripamayi namostute. So, in most modest veil, she's hidden. Lajjapata vritti. Right, Lajjini? Very modest, very retiring, very behind the scenes. See? And so one needs to work their way up the ladder from gross to subtle to causal. I don't know of any better way to put it, except maybe waking, dreaming, and deep sleep. If you begin to take command of these areas of your life by acknowledging them and recognition, the Tantrists call it pratyabhigya. If you can recognize it, that's halfway to realizing it. Because these are things that don't take a lot of effort to know. They're basically things that are inside of you, just like they're in Lord Brahma. Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Deva Maheshwara. See, they're there in the Trinity, and the Trinity is the projector of all this. And you're a part of that projection. You're a spark off the fire. If you're speaking in a qualified non-dual way, but if you're speaking in a non-dual way, you're it. You're the whole thing. You're the fire itself. The great ones realize that. That's the realizing the formless Brahman. So you see in this representation, before we go on, well, let's finish the 24 cosmic principles. You have these 20, and then you have the fourfold mind. Ego, buddhi, intellect is called, and there's the cosmic mind. There's Lord Brahma, pretty much, right there. The Mahat, they also call him, the great mind. And then beyond him is that subtle Prakriti, insentient nature, the non-self, everything in potential back in your mind, back in his mind, back in the collective mind. And then, of course, at the top of the pyramid is the Purusha, the soul, which is eternal. And the oil and the water are here, basically. They don't mix. This one gets control of this one, and there's suffering. And this one starts identifying with this one, and there's misery and trouble. But if this one masters this one, and stays in mastery, there's no trouble. There's no problem. Oh, sir, I have a problem. There is no problem in Vedanta. There's just waking up, recognizing, and being. See, being. Didn't we say that yesterday in the teaching of Saraswati, his Lord Brahma's consort? There are 5 things here: being, shining, loving, form, and name. The Saraswati Rahasya Upanishad says. Rahasya means secret. So there are 5 things here. 3 of them belong to Brahman, and 2 belong to the world. There's another way of putting it. Can it be put any different? You're being, you're shining, and you're loving. You're Sat, Chit, Ananda, aren't you? Sat is pure being, Chit is shining, intelligence, and loving is Ananda, is bliss. So take to these 3 and leave these 2 behind. And don't identify with them. You can associate with them, but don't identify with them. Else, don't raise your children thinking they're the body. Teach them you have 3 bodies, and actually you're none of them. Surprise them twice. Enough happy birthdays, to say, give them a happy birthless day, and a happy deathless day, once and for all, so they'll never be born again. That's what Christ told you to do with your children. They're not yours, after all. They're souls. And some of these souls have fallen into a great confusion. Hard to blame them. And the complexities of Maya. So these 24 cosmic principles I wanted to show you really quick. This is probably our most used of all charts. It's beginning to wear at the edges. So we've shown it so much because it's so integral to the Samkhya, to the Vedanta, to the Patanjali's yoga, to Buddhism, to Shaivism, you name it. They've all looked at this and gone, marvelous. See? When three guys walked into a Gyanakasha, they all said, "Thank you very much." As they took one look at Lord Copland and said, "You're the ancient seer. We appreciate what you did. We were able to explain our own ideations and our own philosophies thanks to your homework." You see. And don't worry about the few gripes that are there in Samkhya philosophy. It was very early on, and there was some development that went on since then, no doubt. But it's the foundation upon which it's made. It's because there's a little tiny flaw in a diamond doesn't make it worthless. Probably makes it more valuable. I think the most valuable diamond in the world has got a little flaw in it. Very big one. So it's precious. May we not find fault with each other. May we not find fault with the studies. May we not find fault with the world we just chanted. Why? Because there's a mountain of faults here in everyone and in everything. Apparently so, but they're all foisted by Maya, by the covering power and the distorting power of Maya. If you look through to a sinner, as Christ did, you see nothing but a potential saint. And that's just in the making. But in the being, in the being, you see the Atman in everyone. Saint and sinner alike. Sun shines on saint and sinner alike. They've described it in different ways. So there's your practice as an Advaita Vedantist. There's really no other practice than that. It's just seeing Brahman in everything. If you've come to that position and you're practicing that, then you just have to make sure, and it doesn't behoove you to identify anymore with old outworn concepts and outdated modes of being and old karmas, you see. It's like licking the spittle you spat out in the sidewalk 2 minutes ago. Who would go back and do that, you see? One of Sri Ramakrishna's graphic sayings. Would you go and lick the spittle that you spat out 2 minutes ago off the sidewalk? Not to speak of someone else's spittle. See? So give this up. See? Give these up. Say peace to all, from me no danger be, to aught that lives, from those that dwell on high to those that lowly creep, I am the self in all. All worlds both here and there do I renounce, all heavens, all earths, all hells, all hopes, and all fears. Thus be thou calm, thus cut thy bonds, thus give these up, Sannyasin bold. Say Om Tat Sat Om. It couldn't be put in a more lucid way than Vivekananda's beautiful song of the Sannyasin, which I almost tried out on you this morning, but I decided since I didn't announce it, I wouldn't subject you to it. But be ready in Seattle, at the retreat. We'll all recite it in the morning. If you've memorized even one verse of it, how many have memorized a good verse or two of it? How many have memorized the whole thing? Good. So, well, that's pretty good. 3 out of 14. So. Now, those of you who are new, if you like the sound of that, strike off thy fetters, bonds that bind thee down. Or wake up the note that had its birth far off. Or heed then no more how body lives and goes. Its task is done, let karma float it down. If you like the sound of those kinds of statements, so well conceived in a great seer's mind, then you'll start memorizing it and using it in meditation. Why are you sitting there going, oh, my legs are aching, my back hurts? You go to some fool for a Hatha yoga lesson. No. You sit up and you make the mind quit thinking about the body. And that's the way to get rid of your aches and pains. There's no other way. You can do 100,000 asanas, you're still going to ache in the second hour of meditation. Everyone does. So make your mind quit associating with the body. Make the oil and the water separate. Get Kaivalya, penultimate to samadhi. Your mind can do it. Ramakrishna had cancer. They came to him, doesn't that hurt? Only when I talk to you. Because I have to come down to it, you see. But when you go away, my mind goes back up to Mother Kali. I don't feel this anymore. So is that only the ability of an avatar? Be thee perfect as thy Father in heaven is perfect. Don't look at the Savior as a savior. Look at him as an exemplar. That's what the East has been doing with their saviors. And they've got so many they can't shake a stick at all of them. You see, as my grandmother used to say. There's so many I can't shake a stick at them. See? Avatars and holy beings and saints and seers and holy men have been pouring out of India from time immemorial. And along with them have come not just one book, one holy book, but hundreds. Why is that? And why is it that neighboring countries like Tibet and Ceylon and others have imbibed the spirit of yoga and put it into their religion? And are making fast and swift headway. And then why is it that when a soul who wants to make progress, as Krishna says in the Gita, is born in the families of yogis and wise people, will go looking for his next incarnation in India or in Tibet? Because it's damn hard to find worthwhile parents here in America. Even good moral parents aren't going to cut it. What we want is dharma. We want the teachings. We want our parents to give us vows that they've taken and that they've completed. That's what the Guru's done. And when I went to my Guru, he had used the mantra for 70 or 80 years, and it was given to him by Holy Mothers. So did I have any qualms or reticent about bowing at his feet and saying, please give me the mantra? People come to me nowadays and say, oh, I got the mantra from a book. Ay, ay, ay. You can't get spirituality from a book or a temple. You get it from another soul. That's the only way to get it. You get a little practice at digging holes, but you never strike water when you read books and so forth. Or after you've met the illumined soul or made the acquaintance of a Ramakrishna, then read a book and get something out of it. Your consciousness is raised. So, Swamiji's beautiful poems and his beautiful works are always schooling us. All we have to do is look at them and read them. And hopefully memorize them. Swadhyaya, memorize the scriptures. Don't just read them once and put it down. Memorize it. Make it a part of your mental field, you know. Because that mental field is called the karmashaya. It's a field full of karmas, good and bad and mixed. And Patanjali calls it a mind field, but I've called it a mine field. Minefield. It's going to go off. It's going to explode. There are dangers there. I've seen them come up in even close family and friends. Perfectly good person going along their life, all of a sudden some samskara comes up and explodes, some past karma. And they're thrust into a world of suffering and die that way. Go to their grave that way, see, without ever knowing the truth, or maybe talking about it once in a while, or getting together with a friend and discussing the possibility of it. See, does God exist or does he not exist? God is existence. Put those questions to rest once and for all. He has come to destroy age-old doubts. And they're on the rise and in plentiful supply here, on earth, in the West, during the Kali Yuga. You might have noticed. Look at the makeup, then, of the immanent reality. Because this is key, because we're getting into the third chapter. He's going to start making the comparison between God with form and the formless reality. This is where the Upanishad is very well schooled and very clever, if you will, at leading souls, because throughout time they've been leaning toward God with form. It's almost natural they do. it would be nice if they leaned toward God as an exemplar, God with form as an exemplar, and not just as a savior. Because if you have to be saved, then there's some problem there. See, but if you see God as an exemplar, then you're saying, be the perfect. See, I will become like God. I will be cut in that image. See the difference? No bowing and scraping and lowliness for me. No more birth in the womb of matter for me. Only emanation from my Divine Mother. I will give up birth and death. Death is an illusion. The birthless, deathless ones, I will join their company. So look at some of the company that Brahma is with. Of course there's Vishnu and Shiva. We just chanted about them. I mean, you can put it in terms of the Guru Stotram, or you could say it this way. Redi Khandana Bandara Bhaskara He Tomi Vishnu Prajapati Shankara He Para Brahma Bharat Para Veda Bane Guru Deva Dayakara Dina Jane. So it means, O Lord, you remove the darkness from our soul. You are Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. And you are beyond as the absolute reality as well. Please shower your compassion upon me. Now, we were talking yesterday about meditation and prayer, and sometimes how prayer is leading us toward that tendency of being, of counting on a savior. So here you have a prayer in Indian way of thinking, see. But what are they praying for? They're praying for worldly wealth? They're praying for relief from disease? No, you don't hear any of that. You hear, shower your compassion upon me. I'm looking for compassion, see. I'm looking for high qualities. I don't ask for anything else but just to have your vision. Because once I have God, I have everything. And when God is pleased, everyone's pleased. There was a story about Ramakrishna going along in a boat with his devotees, the young boys, you see. And they all got hungry all of a sudden. So they pulled the boat into the shore and sent one of the boys off to get a bag of sweetmeats, they call it. You know, a few annas, a few pennies. He came back, they went back out in the boat, and they were looking to divide up all this bag of sweetmeats. So Ramakrishna took the bag and ate it all. How selfish, right? But as soon as he put those in his mouth and ate them, everyone's hunger went away. If God is pleased, everyone's pleased. So God is first and foremost in our minds. Should be first and foremost in our mind. We shouldn't be asking for anything from God but pure love, pure devotion, and pure wisdom. What we say every day after our meditation, what we say every day before we eat and after we eat. Pure love, pure devotion, pure wisdom. See, that's all. Just give me that. All the rest will work itself out. I don't need to worry or fret about it. And eventually, through the company of Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, who is, in both of these stotrams I just sang, the Guru, that's the true Guru, you see, God with form, I will get the company of Brahman. I will transcend all form at that divine moment, and I will have a vision of the formless. So, along with Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, look at some of the hosts there. These are the divine hosts of the pantheon of God, sometimes they're called. There is Ganesha. See his trunk? Om Jaya Ganapati Ganesha Jaya Om. Omkara Prabhu Sharanam Sharanam. Sharanam, if I make refuge, take refuge, and bow down to Ganesha, then I will be in the company of Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. Who else does Ganesha serve? The Divine Mother. He's her child. You heard the story before? How he got his head, how he got his elephant head. There are many versions, but one version is that Shiva went away and Parvati was at home, and she got a little bit lonely with Shiva gone. So she said, I think I'll have a mind-born son. You see. So Ganesha was there, serving her, helping her. But Shiva didn't know anything about it. Didn't know he had a son yet. That happens a lot even in this world. So Shiva comes back and sees Ganapati standing guard at the door because Parvati wanted to take her bath and she didn't want to be disturbed by anyone, so he was standing guard at the door. Shiva said, out of the way. And Ganapati said, you cannot enter. And so Shiva, off with his head, cut it off. Parvati comes out of the bath, what did you do to my son? Shiva goes, oops. Looks around real quick, and there was a freshly killed elephant. Took the head, put it on Ganesha. Will this do? Yes, he's kind of charming. I like him. You see. He's got the whole world in his belly. Lambodara om pahimam. Pahimam means save us, save us. So the savior in terms of Hinduism is this god of good fortune. And he serves the goddess Lakshmi, and Lakshmi serves the goddess Durga. So you're right up the pantheon. Like I say often, you need friends in high places. You need friends in high places. Don't X God with form out of the equation like some of the pseudo-non-dualists are doing. Ganesha's there, Chandra, the moon, and Surya, the sun. Agnir Murta Chanshusi Chandra Surya Vishaha Shrotrivag Vivritasha Vedaha. Basically, sun and moon are his two eyes. Doesn't it make sense? Didn't we just talk about how sight goes with fire, and fire goes with visibility, and visibility goes so forth and so on? So aren't the sun and the moon just the revelatory power through all eyes and can see all objects and so forth? So why are you seeing them as some separate body in the sky that you read about in some book, see, on geography in high school? See? You should be seeing them as the connected back to the very power of light, and if you connect that power of light back into you, it's the power of intelligence. Intelligence is shining. I'll show you about that in a minute. Prajapati is there. Prajapati is the teacher of the gods, and he's a human. Imagine that. A human got so high as to be able to teach the gods. See, sometimes we chant that, right? Sham no Vishnu Rukramaha Namo Brahmane Namaste Vayu Tvameva Pratjaksham Brahmasi Tvameva Pratjaksham Brahma Vadishami Ritam Vadishami Satcham Vadishami. Basically, salutations to the ancestors, salutations to the gods and goddesses, salutations to the Trinity, salutations to the Supreme Brahman. Right up the ladder, you see. Thou art what is real, what is true, and what is beneficial. There's no covering power, distorting power, you see. It's all revelatory power, revelatory power. The power to reveal the self within, and then the power to live in the self once it's revealed. That's what you need. That's the man-making policy of Vivekananda, and that's what he wants. He doesn't want one-sided devotees anymore, who just dance and sing, or who just serve society with altruism, and everything just goes to hell in a handbasket anyway. See? He wants you up and out of this mess, because then only will your work last for 2,000 years, or 2,500 years, instead of just gone in a lifetime or two. See? He wants great souls by the hosts. And people, after he came to the West and got well known at the Parliament of Religion, they sent him newspaper clippings of what a hero he was in India. He sent them a letter back saying, "You have not got my fire yet, have you? You're just blazing me in the newspapers. Do you think I want that? I want to bring people to the Lord. Have you done that yet? Have you brought them to the Lord? I want to see them by the hundreds. This man could mix with anyone. The worldly, the lowly, the suffering, the evil, the atheists, the agnostics, the high upper crust of society. He could mix with anyone, but he said once, of all those people, I'm glad to talk with them, but if I had my druthers, I would be talking and living with just the devotees, just those who love God. That's who I love. I love everyone, my God the evil, my God the suffering, my God the good, my God the rich, my God the poor. See. But at one time he said, give me the devotees as company. See. Or that's Sangha, but then sometimes I feel like a Sangha, no company. Then I'll go to the Himalayas with a good book, a good Upanishad, and I'll sit there in the snow and I'll read. I didn't feel the cold. A lot of the Ramakrishna Order Swamis walked around barefoot in the winter in the Himalayas. Imagine that. We got to get our boots on and our socks and our perma-wear and our waterproof stuff, and then maybe I can survive. No, their mind is above the body. You don't believe it until you see it. See, and you can't sit in meditation for 1 hour without complaining about your aching legs. Just transcend it. Develop that ability now, especially before you get in an old body like this. See, this body's doing pretty good after 63 years because I've trained it in yoga. And I'm not talking about Hatha yoga. I did that for 4 or 5 months and I gave it up. That is, I was done with it. That's all. It showed me what it had to show me. What it had to show me was this: one position, ekasana. And when I attained this, I didn't need anything more to do with the body, except that it followed my commands, the commands of this, the mind. You get a pure mind, or even a semblance of a pure mind, then the body will follow suit. Everything you do, it will tell you. Quit bothering me. Okay. Go away. All right. Will you wash me? Oh, all right. So, give it a bath and feed it a little food, make sure the food is good, and that you take the food with the mantra. That's all I'm asking you to do. It's not that hard. You change old habits, and then basically yoga becomes the eliminator of pain. That's how Krishna describes it in the Gita. Let this word yoga be associated with the elimination of pain in the body. He wants you up and out of this, no doubt about it. They're not mixing words or mincing terms in this, in this teaching they give. They're not trying to make you all right with the world. I'm all right, you're all right philosophy. They're saying, transcend this world and do it as quick as you can. And then come back and free and help others do the same. You look at Christ in the wilderness, Buddha under the bo tree, Muhammad on the mountain, Moses back in the wilderness. They all did the same thing. They got in contact either with the Trinity or a being of this ilk, this lofty ilk, or they had their non-dual experience. I and my Father are one. So those great beings up there, Hanuman is there. See? There's Indra, Agni, Vayu, and Varuna. Om Chayu Shantihi, Antariksham Shantihi, Prathivi Shantihi, Apaho Shantihi, Oshadaya Shantihi, Vanashpataya Shantihi. There's your earth, air, fire, water, and the gods of your earth, air, fire, water, and air, ether, and so forth. They're all there in their subtle form. See, the presiders over those cosmic principles. See, is there a god of the wind, a god of the sun, god of the breath, god of the nourishing power? See, all of those are there. You don't have to look at them as anthropomorphically if you don't want. You can just see them as energies. That's fine. But you can't deny that there's life there. And you can't deny that that life is associated with intelligence, not insentience. And when you connect it up to intelligence, then you have Om. You have the word right there. And intelligence is shining off the word Om like sunlight shines off a sun. And that's how they get to Om, by following their intelligence. There's also 7 Saptarishis there, you see. The Saptarishis are there. There are 7 worlds, and the Saptarishis preside over each one of them. Like in this beautiful song. Saptarishi mandalike jnana yogi rishivar brahma sukha chodakara svayam hiyaite brahma sukha chodakara svayam hiyaite Shri Rama Krishna ekadin jnana mogana huite jnana mevei pehchani narendra konate. Saptarishi mandalike. Mandala. You know what a mandala is? You see, sometimes you see them making these beautiful mandalas out of different colored sand and bits of glass and various things they use. This mandala means a circle. Like Krishna had his mandala of gopis and gopas. See, dedicated men and women. Even in his young days he had them. And he was just a cowherd boy. Famous story. Our biblical Christ story is really all around Krishna in India. So Saptarishi are those 7 rishis that have gotten together, in a mandala, see, and they project the 7 worlds. They're mind-born sons of Brahma. Brahma doesn't have, in those subtle realms, you don't have physical relationships to have a child. You bring together minds, and those minds think together, and they project a child. And the child will appear there in the ethers. Just like you would create a dream tonight. See, I dreamed I was pregnant. He came out. He was beautiful. Sort of like that. Would that more beings here on earth have their physical children by putting their minds together? Not just random. The mothers and fathers in India, especially old India, did austerities before they had a child. They did very intense austerities to prepare themselves, to prepare the way for a soul, to attract a soul who was of a high nature. They were very keen on that point, that they wanted a soul of a high nature. On down the spectrum there, you see the suras and asuras. Here's where the gods and the demigods figure into the picture. See, they're on not so high a level. They're always warring with each other for territory, for devotees, for worship. Suras want what the asuras want what the suras have, and the suras want to protect it jealously. So the suras and asuras are there in the Itihasa of India, the Mahabharata, the Ramayana, different stories you'll read about the wars between the suras and the asuras. And all of them have good qualities. Even the demons, the asuras in Hindu ideology and mythology, have very good qualities, along with their anger and their rage and their domination and their power, lust for power. They also have very good qualities. It's always a mixture. It's not an incarnate devil, all evil kind of thing. Because nothing is all good here and nothing is all evil, Vivekananda said. It's all an admixture. And it's the admixture that gives people problems. You know what's good, right? And you know what's evil. That's basic discrimination. Viveka comes later, spiritual discrimination, but that discernment between good and evil is obvious to most good people. But it's the admixture that confuses. When those overlap each other, you start having these very strange phenomena occur that put people off. Like somebody goes and raids a country and kills and pillages, subjects another country to their dominance. See? And then somebody who occupy that country is driven out of their country. And because they're driven out of their country, they bring goodness to the rest of the world. Speaking about the Tibetans, see, they were hiding away all their spiritual wealth that they had gathered for 1,200 years, gotten from India and Buddha and yoga and Tantra and so forth. And then somebody drives them out of their country, and it's so bad, isn't it? What a horrible thing. But the end result is all this benefit, you see. It's like chasing bees out of a nest. See? They went everywhere. Now Tibetan Buddhism is on the rise, you see. Everyone's interested in it. And it's even brought spiritual matters into political areas so that they can begin looking at them. So that's the confusing part. Probably the best way to say that is the way God works is in mysterious ways. His mysteries to unfold. I mean, if you're too much of an optimist or you're not practical enough, then you say, oh, this is a good world, and you go about whistling a tune, and you're a fool. Or if you're too much of a pessimist, you go around griping and complaining about everything, and you're a fool. See? But if you can work your way through the obscuring and the distorting power of Maya, if somebody tells you that this is all Maya, and there's a revelatory power in it all, even in the negative, then aren't you going to become a world shaker, a world transformer? You're going to be able to do great things, see, even on the level of this ever-changing world. See, the joke is Divine Mother, came out, and put Maya in everything, you see. So everyone's looking around, whoa, it's Maya, and then some of these beings got together and said, oh boy, Maya. See, let's bring that together and make more Maya. So the next time the Divine Mother looked, she saw that they were teaching her a few things about delusion and illusion. She went, my God, I didn't know they'd do all that. I just gave them basic Maya to see through, and they've turned it into this prison house of suffering, Ramakrishna calls it. Should be a mart of joy, but it's been turned into a prison house of suffering. How's that? How'd they do that? I might have gave them veiling power, and I might have given them obscuring power, but I also gave them revelatory power. Prakasha Shakti. There's that word, Akasha. So the Suras and the Asuras continually warring with one another. There's Sri Krishna, the avatar, and Arjuna, his devotee. See, we talk about another beautiful verse to this goes, Ramachandra Bhaktavara Mahavir Jaise Shri Krishna Priya Shaka Arjuna Jaisite. Shri Krishna and Arjuna. And Ramchandra and Mahavir. Who's Mahavir? Hanuman. It's called Mahavir. So basically it's like Ramachandra and Hanuman of old, and like Krishna and Arjuna, you and Vivekananda have come, O Master, in this age, just like they did in that age, to destroy ignorance and to reveal the truth. Prakasha Shakti, to bring the revelatory power here, in the darkest place, and light things up. So that's the play on earth. So you can see the pantheon here in its sort of general sweep from causal to subtle to gross. You say causal would be on the level of the Trinity, subtle on the level of the gods and goddesses, and gross here on the level of earth, as Avatar acts out his play. And those three worlds go with your three bodies, which are here, consisting of 24 cosmic principles, gross, subtle, and causal. So know the ingredients of your three bodies, know the ingredients of the three worlds, know that there's a definer for each one, that is AUM, and know that there's a God presiding over each one, Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. Put it all together, meditate on it and be free. Isn't it Om Drishyam Pratitam Pravilapayan San Matram Anandaganam Vibhavayam Samahita San Antir Inner Baharam Antir Baharam Va, outer and inner. So take the outer and the inner and put them together into one and meditate on them. Then be happy and be free. And that's what you have to do with everything that looks external and everything that looks external. Internal and external. Isn't that the admixture? Isn't that the confusion that we were just talking about? Is it outer or is it inner? Or is it both? See? It's an admixture, and it's part of the veiling and part of the revelatory power of Shakti. Here. Maya is an insentient force that, though invested with inherent powers of obscuration and distortion, nevertheless is present to drive beings towards remembrance and enlightenment. The tantric adepts state that she covers our eyes with one hand, but leads us towards freedom with the other. This divine power is called Prakasha Shakti. Prakasha is the revelatory light. Prakashaka is its revealer. Prakasha is the thing revealed. So you have this teaching about Prakasha Shakti, which unfortunately isn't given that much. You always hear about the veiling and the distorting power as a sort of a cautionary measure, sort of warning what to watch out for. But they should really be emphasizing too the Prakasha Shakti. That's what Ramakrishna emphasizes in his life. How to see through the Maya, how to strip the coverings off the gift, how to transcend the five sheaths, how to go beyond name and form, how to transcend even the Trinity and get into oneness with your true being. Because that oneness already is a fact. You've just wandered away from it, you see. Into the many. And when you wandered into the many, then it all became a matter of variegation. Mada and Moha and Vaichitra. The Tantric adept says Vaichitra is the distraction that happens by contemplating too many things, too many varieties, and it turns into Shatavadana, thinking of 1,000 things at once instead of the one Brahman. And how beautiful these systems are. All your confusion goes away if you just take one of those teachings and to heart, you see. The Ramakrishna said so many things, Holy Mother said in his life, and every one of them was true. But you don't need to contemplate every one of them. Just take one and meditate it. That'll be enough for you. Because you'll get free in that moment. And then you can know what freedom is, and you can repeat that moment throughout the day. Well, Sri Ramakrishna's way of saying that is the tavern owner. You know, he has many, many bottles of wine in his cellar. Do I need to drink them all to get drunk? Can't I just take a few glasses and isn't that enough for me? He's talking about divine inebriation, see. Just a little of this wisdom will get you drunk, will get you free, will get you happy, see. You don't need everything. I need everything because I've got 20 egos here, you see. And I'm trying to find ways to kill them. The Guru's a murderer, plain and simple. And the ego is unreal, so I'm not committing any crime here. See? The real always is, the unreal never exists. And the truth of both of those has been known by the seers. So you need to be armed with everything. You know that saying, armed to the teeth? Came from the pirate days, because when they swung over to the enemy's ship, they had a sword here, had a dagger in their boot, pistol cocked in their back, and they had a dagger here, just in their teeth, ready to hit deck and start cutting it up. See, armed to the teeth. That's what the Guru needs to be, and the inferior Gurus aren't. the ones I saw in my youth, most of them. That's why I went to Swami Sheshananda, because he had knowledge of the scriptures and he could transmit it. And the others just were saying, oh, get into a few postures, see, do a few breathing exercises, and other nonsense, see. I'll make you a brahmacharini, then I'll have sex with you, see. It's happening in the name of spirituality. See. You have to bring this yoga into manifestation. And so the mediocre gurus are there. See, they're like doctors that give you a pill once, and then they don't call to inquire whether you took it. But the superior guru will give you the pill, and come to your door. Did you take that medicine? Oh, I forgot. Take it. I'll do it later. And he'll get you down on the ground and force it down your throat with his thumb, you see. It's just sort of like giving a pill to a cat. You ever tried that? There's even comedy jokes on the internet about trying to give a pill to a cat and the 32 steps it takes. And the 15 start-overs you have to do. Once you even get it down its throat, it spits it out. Now it's time for the vet and a shot of sleepy time, you see. So that's what giving the truth to Westerners is like, or the people of this day and age somehow. And trying to bring them the truth is like herding cats. See, if you ever tried that. Yeah, get over there. It's not like cows, We wish holy cow was more the matter in that case, but it's all these arrogant, prideful, independent cats, you see. Well, I know the truth, you can't tell me anything. Well, okay, where is it in your life? Come back to me in 2 weeks how much suffering you have. And fidget about in meditation and thinking inside of your head, oh, I'm a yogi, I'm a yogi. But you can't even sit still for 20 minutes. Yogis are in caves, sitting there for days. Holy Mother said, Vivekananda sits, when he's out of the body, he sits in the upper akashas like a wooden statue for 700 years at a time. So use that as your metaphor for meditation. 1 hour is nothing. Try for 2 without even stirring. You're new, you do pretty well, you sit pretty well. No. She sat next to me the last 2 days. I can feel everyone in the room. Right, Bhavatrini Ma? So, you know what's going on in people's minds and their bodies. There's the three Maya Shaktis right there. Avarana Shakti, Vikshepa Shakti, and Prakasha Shakti. Here's the bullet points. Avarana Shakti veils the mind on individual, collective, and cosmic levels. It's related to the guna of tamas. Veiling power is tamas, means slothfulness. Or if you want to put it scientifically, inertia. Can't get myself moving here, see. Plod along if you go anywhere at all. And it works in conjunction with Vikshepa Shakti. What's Vikshepa Shakti? The power of distortion. It distorts the mind on individual, collective, and cosmic levels and is related to the guna of rajas, restlessness. Like Krishna says in the Gita, those beings that are restless are born in restless wombs in their next lifetime. And those beings that are lazy are born in lazy wombs the next time. But those beings who are sattvic, who are filled with light, they get a womb with a view. There's light coming in. What is Prakasha Shakti, this power of revelation? It clarifies the mind by revealing the actual nature of things. See it as it is, they say in yogic circles. You must see it as it is. If you look at an object, you can't say it's Brahman. You have to say it's vibrating particles. Brahman cannot be seen. So I can't see Brahman here. Brahman's never been seen by anyone. Not even by the third eye. In the third eye you're still seeing the gods and goddesses and the Trinity and the unmanifested Prakriti and all that. Great wisdom is coming to you, but it's the here where you become one with the thing. You see, the salt doll goes in the ocean, then it knows what liquidity is like. Until then, it's just, all it knows is solidity. So, the actual nature of things are to be contemplated. Doesn't that sound like what I wanted you to do, what the yogis want you to do, to meditate on earth, water, fire, air, ether, smelling, touching, tasting, hearing, feeling, and so forth? These are your instruments, you see, through which consciousness can act. If the instruments aren't pure, consciousness can't act through there. A woman once saw a spider crawl into her shoe. It's a brand new shoe, it cost a lot of money. She loved it. But she wouldn't put it on again. Consciousness is rather like that woman. So if it sees impurity in the senses, in the body, in the mind, it won't put them on. God will not manifest there. Sri Ramakrishna used to say, a tree sheds leaves. One leaf falls in the gutter. Another leaf falls in the street. Another leaf falls in a field. Another leaf falls in a temple walkway. 4 or 5 different kinds of people, right? Falling off the tree of Brahman. Does Brahman care where they fell? Does the tree care where its leaves go after they're dead? You can't assign anything to Brahman. It has no origins, and it's not the cause for this world. The Trinity is the cause for this world. And the Trinity is very sattvic, and that's what we're talking about here. It clarifies the mind by revealing the actual nature of things. It's related to the guna of sattva, which leads beyond it as well. So it gives you sattvic balance, and that will act as a springboard to get you into formlessness. Or as Holy Mother might have put it, you need peace first and foremost. You cannot get anything without peace. Never lose your peace of mind. So sattva is like that peace of mind, sort of a contentment that comes upon you when you've got your matters all settled. And if you keep sattva long enough, then all of a sudden that opening will happen. That springboard, that opportunity into a non-dual experience will confront you. And if it confronts you in a sattvic way, with the power of Prakasha Shakti, you won't have any fear of death going into formlessness. But if you get that opportunity in Rajas or Tamas, that's where you have that trepidation. Like the hailstone falling toward the ocean. Yikes. Draws a big breath, you know. I'm lost. But actually it's found. It's finding its true nature as the ocean. And this little crystallized piece of water was its ego, was its assumed separate existence. But there's no separate existence from Brahman. In the Chandi and in the Srimad Devi Bhagavatam they say, salutations to you, O Mother, victory to the Divine Mother of the universe. The war is already won. Victory is yours. So if you identify with a victorious one like that, then aren't you a part of her pantheon? Aren't you a part of her army? Aren't you a part of her success? She's on the battlefield battling with demons who's got nails like winnowing hooks, see, and fangs. See, these demons are coming at her, the demons of the ego, trying to master her, and she dispatches every one of them easily. Even the most obstinate of egos, like Raktabija. Raktabija was a demon that if you cut him or pierced him with an arrow or a sword or a spear, every drop of blood that fell from him turned into another Raktabija. You get the symbology here? Sort of like a hydra, yeah, in Greek mythology, but basically the idea is that ignorant people are putting out ignorant babies, ignorant children. They're being attracted in hordes. See, drops of blood. Ramakrishna used to say, the fruit, as we say, the fruit doesn't fall far from the tree. So he wanted those good Bombay variety of mangoes, see, that fall from the tree of Brahman, as we were just saying. So Raktabija had to be dispatched with different means. Durga got on the meditative, because in those days war was rather an art. They were, courteous to one another. Can we take a retreat now and rest a little? Yeah, sure. You go over there, I'll go over here. We'll fight again tomorrow. Set up your tents. We won't raid you. Have a good feast. Rest. We'll get at it tomorrow again. So it wasn't out of hate, really. It was just out of victory and domination. And it wasn't purposeless like our wars today, with no reason. That's really Avarana Shakti, isn't it? It's totally obscured why the reasons they do things, and very distorted. So they got into a retreat, you see, and between that, Divine Mother said, how am I going to kill this Raktabija? I've been fighting him for 1,000 years. Every time I dispatch one, 100 more rise up from him. So that's where Kali was born. See, it's one of the stories of how Kali got born. So she went inside and she meditated, and she brought all the gods and goddesses together, as you saw in this pantheon, and they all gifted her certain weapons and certain powers. Surya gave him the power of light from the sun. So all the gods gave her different things, different powers, and she put them all together in a big concentration, and out of her third eye came Kali, the horrible Kali, the Raksha Kali, the Shmashana Kali, the graveyard Kali, the dire fear Kali, mother as death. See? And she looked at Raktabija. But they can't kill me because I can reproduce myself every time they stick me, you see. So Durga says to Kali, whenever I stick him, well, first she said, open your mouth. Open your mouth. And Kali's big, huge tongue rolled out. You get where I'm going with this? Yet? So Durga says to Kali, every time I stick this guy, you just lick up every drop of blood that falls. Make sure the drops of blood cannot hit the earth. And so they went out together and together vanquished Raktabija. That's a story of a rather persnickety and obstinate asura, demonic being, that is like representation of an ego that tries to get victory over the Divine Mother. Give up this false war of ego and attrition with the Divine Mother of the universe. Don't you know she's ever victorious? She's undefeatable. She's indefatigable. She's the eternal verity. She's the truth. You cannot surmount her. So this Prakasha Shakti exposes truth in association with Adhyaropa and Apavada. Those are properties of Viveka. You want to say, well, Babaji is talking about discrimination, Viveka. What are the dynamics of it? And in the few minutes remaining, let's look at it. Adhyaropa, the ability of the spiritual aspirant to adroitly detect the unreal false superimposition of name and form over Brahman. Rather a mouthful, but if you take it apart and think about it, it's a lot about using that Prakasha Shakti to see through the appearance of things, right? You must see the things as they are. So Adhyaropa is that first property of Viveka that you have to, it's not just enough to discriminate between the real and the unreal and then walk away. You're going to have to see the nature of the unreal and the nature of the real. If you see the nature of the real, it's going to attract you. And at that time, negativity is already dead. As soon as you get attracted to Mother, to truth, to Brahman, to the Trinity, to Om, to Vedanta, to the teachings, then brooding, disappointment, lassitudinous, Rajas and Tamas are already dead. You've already put them in their own grave. So Adhyaropa is very important to detect the false superimposition of name and form over the formless reality. If you can just do that, realize it, then you know there's formless reality behind all this. Aren't you pretty safe and free already? And you see people who don't do that, aren't they in fear all the time and living lifetimes of ignorance? They haven't made a good, healthy conclusion around this yet. There is formlessness underlying all form. And don't make the mistake that that formlessness is the formlessness of your deep sleep. It's a formlessness that's higher than Prakriti, unmanifested Prakriti. So you have to get beyond form, and then you have to get beyond formlessness with a small f, and then you have to encounter this formlessness with a capital F. Krishna puts that very nicely in the Gita. So a little bit about Adyaropa. Let's look at Apavada, and then we'll take our break. Apavada is the 1-2 punch. Adyaropa Apavada is kind of the 1-2 punch that puts ignorance to the mat. Apavada is the ability of the spiritual aspirant, via rejection of the unreal, to do away with false superimposition of name and form. So first you espy it, then you reject the unreal, and then you accept the real. Kind of what I was just saying, only the dynamics more clearly outlined. This is the work of a Vedantist. This is the spiritual practice of an Advaita Vedantist, if there is any practice for an Advaita Vedantist, or an aspiring Advaita Vedantist. It's all in here. It's manasana. It's mental asana. And if you can attain it and hold it, or any number of mental asanas, then you're fine. You have a healthy spiritual life. But it's much like physical asanas. You can do a lot of them and not get very far in spiritual life. But if you get one, then you've got it made, right? Same with mental asana. You first adopt those that are healing, salubrious. Then you adopt those that are spiritual. But then you want to adopt those that are sempiternal. Those ones that are everlasting. And those are called Atman and Bramhan. This self is Brahman. I and my Father are one. The best of all mental asanas in Christendom was I and my Father are one. You come down a little bit and it's be thee perfect as thy Father in heaven is perfect, because you see the insinuation. Oh, you're not perfect, so you have to be perfect. That was never the case. Christ didn't mean that. You are one with Him always. You are one with the Mother. There's no imperfection in you. There's no weakness in you. There's no distortion in you. There's no covering power in you. It's all revelatory power. And if you use it, you'll realize your true nature. Very, very subtle mechanisms to the Vedanta, and explained so well by a host of saints and seers, what to speak of the pantheon of gods and goddesses, and the avatars that come right down to this earth to show us. So here, let's take our 10-minute break, and live stream audience can see a chart or two while we're taking our break. Liquefy, breathe, and come back ready for another hour of this. Namaste.